Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jon Petrick, and welcome to the Ask Dr. Jon Show. We're going to jump right into an incredible topic today. We have a special guest, and the topic for this week's conversation is going to be on artificial intelligence, or AI. It's used to be a thing of science fiction, and now it's on everyday language. Even our president was just talking about artificial intelligence and the technologies to follow. I'm here today with a good friend of mine, someone that I've known for probably about 18 months, one of the smartest minds in artificial intelligence, software, you name it. This gentleman really knows his stuff when it comes to the internet, software, and artificial intelligence. I'm excited to have him on the show because this is such an important topic that I thought, why not just go right to the source, the person who knows the most about him. I'd like to introduce him now, Mr. Javed Buttar. Why don't you go ahead and give everybody your own intro?
Yeah, my name is Javed Buttar, and I have a background in computers, electronics, electrical engineering, computers. I've done enterprise systems from Charles Schwab to A.J. Heinz Company, North American Phillips Company, in different layers of technology, from the mainframes to Oracle, to Microsoft, to the cloud systems. And my current interest is artificial intelligence. Now, since you mentioned artificial intelligence, keep in mind artificial intelligence is a layer that sits on top of the iceberg, every layer of technology.
Because everybody right now is questioning what is AI, and that's what we're needing. So could you tell us all, what is artificial intelligence, or AI?
I think the big difference between AI and traditional computing is that AI can think for itself. And it's similar to taking a child. When a child is born, they don't know what to do. So they use their five senses and pay attention and learn everything. So the concept of AI is that we can design neural networks just like a child's brain, and by observation and paying attention, it can learn by itself. That's a paradigm shift, because before AI, we used to determine what the outcome is. What's the goal of designing a program or a system? With AI, the AI itself absorbs all the information like a growing child, and then it can make its own decisions. So that's a big difference between traditional systems and artificial intelligence.
You know, when we first started talking about artificial intelligence, you were mentioning about a white paper that came out that was really, it laid out what artificial intelligence is. And would you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the white paper, which is famous in technological circles from Google DeepMind, was attention is all you need. Because if you look at the human brain, it learns from paying attention. Even in a classroom, the teacher says, pay attention to learn something. That's how we learn. Actually, that's how all biological creatures learn. And it is a reward and punishment system. If a child puts their hand in the fire, they learn it's punishment. They learn not to do it again. So, and if they eat something, there's a reward, they feel good about it. So the artificial intelligence system is based on the same metrics, where it takes in data and then learns from it if it has created the right outcome or not, if it has learned the right thing. And so to learn all of that, it also needs a lot of neurons, just like the brain. If you look at the design of the artificial intelligence network, the neural networks, they're very much based on the human brain.
Which has about 86 million neurons in the brain. Billion, excuse me.
Yeah.
It has 86 billion neurons in the brain, right?
Right. And that's an important point, because so far, until 2 days ago, we thought that we needed artificial intelligence neural networks that would have over 100 billion neural computer neurons. We also call them neurons or nodes in the computer field. And that would require billions of dollars worth of investment to create a neural network that's that big. And we thought until 2 days ago that only United States had that kind of investing power. And that's where President Trump announced the $500 billion investment from private sources.
3 primary private sources, right? Larry Ellison,
Sam Altman, and then the third one was the Japanese SoftBank person, Masayoshi Son, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So those 3, and it was going to be private investment, but inside the United States to give us a competitive edge against China. Now, with I think it was planned by the Chinese that with the release of DeepSeek, within almost overnight, it became the most downloaded app in the US. It already was in China and became the most downloaded app.
And you said it's DeepSeek?
DeepSeek.
What is DeepSeek? So, I mean, I'm not sure everybody, I mean, I just heard about it a couple of days ago, so I'm kind of ignorant on it. What is DeepSeek?
DeepSeek is a game changer in artificial intelligence. In my view, when Elon Musk criticized President Trump from including Sam Altman in the initiative, I think Elon Musk was right. And let me give you a little bit of background. Sam Altman represents OpenAI. OpenAI, when it was formed a few years ago, Elon was one of the founding members of OpenAI. And as the word implies, OpenAI means it's open source. So
what does that mean? What does open source mean?
Open source means that you provide computer software free of charge.
Okay.
So
anybody can get it.
Anybody can download. Anybody can download it. Anybody can use it. If you want to take an example of the current internet infrastructure that runs the world, that runs the cloud, keep in mind that most of it is run on open software because the 2 paradigms are Windows operating system and Linux. Linux is open software, right? So nobody has to pay anything for it. So then those servers run better than Windows. They're designed to be more scalable. Even Microsoft, for its own Azure, doesn't use majority Windows. They use majority Linux servers because it doesn't cost anything.
And you don't hear a lot about Linux. This is one of the first times I'm hearing truly about Linux.
Linux, Linux, Linux. Yeah. And Linux was a free operating system that was designed by Linus Torvalds, actually a Finnish person who immigrated to the US later on. And it became very popular. And from the get-go, he made it open software. Nobody has to pay for it.
Why did he do that? What do you think his rationale behind that was? Why would you want it free as opposed to trying to monetize it?
Now, let me explain that a little bit, because in the computer field, we have what we call the proprietary software, like Microsoft Windows, and we have free software, which is provided by technologists for freely available use. Now, let me go to the business side of things as to how that works. On the business side of works, we had IBM that used to be dominant in the 80s. And then at that time, there was also free software, which was Unix at the time, developed by universities. And then what Linus did was take Unix and made it Linux, a more easier version of it that has become very, very popular. So that trend to provide free technology has been part of the American free enterprise from the beginning. For example, the internet itself was a Department of Defense project, right?
A DoD project in the 70s?
In the 70s. It used to be called ARPANET. And now Department of Defense did not have to give it away as free software. So do you pay anything for the internet? You don't. You pay for the service provider, but you don't have to license the technology. So that's a perfect example as to how there have been free software in parallel with licensed software. So the way the business paradigm works is that, it's open market, it's free enterprise. The enterprises like having a vendor behind them. So Microsoft has a place, IBM has a place, everybody has a place that provides licensed software. Then there is a place that has free software where you don't have to pay for the license, but usually then you have to worry about not having a company behind to support it.
Now, real quick, when you say that, what about Google? So or DuckDuckGo now. So when I go to those is it a search engine that you're referring to? So when I go there, that's free because anybody can pretty much go to Google or Safari or any of those. Is that a Linux?
Right. Now, without going into too much business details, keep in mind that in the technology world, and the AI discussion comes to that. That's the genesis of why Elon Musk had a problem with including Sam Altman as one of the three people in there of OpenAI. Because when OpenAI was set up, it was a nonprofit organization to provide AI to everybody who wanted it, all the technology people who wanted to use it. So then they decided to turn it through legal shenanigans into a for-profit organization. So Elon was not happy with that because it went against the objective of setting up the company.
They set it up to be nonprofit, given to everybody. They did a switch and then made it into for-profit. And Elon said, forget that, I'm out.
And Elon is suing them because he was one of the founders. As of last year, he's suing them that they violated the original agreement. And then Microsoft invested in OpenAI to the tune of $16-17 billion. So then they are also part of it along with OpenAI.
Part of the suit or?
Well, they are part of the mix as to what the effects would be.
Okay.
So now, the interesting thing in AI is most of the technology was developed by Google DeepMind. Last year, the Nobel Prizes pretty much came from the work that Google DeepMind had done. And then a lot of these AI offshoots have been from Google ex-employees.
Matter of fact, the youngest person to receive the Nobel Prize actually did it in the AI space, correct?
In the AI space.
From the former Google?
Or he used Google technology. On Google, he was involved. Most of the AI initiatives have been based on the seminal work which was done at Google DeepMind. And that paper we were referring to, Attention is All You Need, that group is still working at Google.
The name of the white paper is Attention is All You Need,
Attention is all you need to create AI, right? Because you don't need other things. That is the core concept. Now, how did China respond to it? That's very important to understand. So China then have been working on their own AI. So they took the open source part of AI that has been available in the US, including from OpenAI and ChatGPT is based on that. And so they have created DeepSeek. Now, DeepSeek, they have created on a budget of $5.5 million instead of billions of dollars, right? And then what they've done is they have made it available as open source.
Okay.
I can download it, you can download it, anybody can download it.
And that's why it was the fastest number one downloaded app.
Right, because with OpenAI, if you look at their pricing structure, it goes anywhere from $100 a month to $200,000 a month. Now, for an average student or whoever wants to use OpenAI, even $100 a month is quite a bit. For a business, anything between thousands of dollars up to $200,000 is quite an expense. They have to plan for it. Now, with DeepSeek, people ran all the algorithms, and they found out that it's actually better than ChatGPT. It gives you the reasoning, it gives you this. So the Chinese company, what they did was they created a better mousetrap, and also to rub it in, they said, well, you were founded as an open AI. You were supposed to be free. Now you're charging tons of money. So we are going to make it really free for the whole world. Okay, so that was one thing. They kind of, in the technology space, have claimed a moral high ground.
So is this like a kind of like a Sputnik type moment where the Chinese now have kind of beaten us to space, like where the Russians beat us with Sputnik and Yuri, and now here we are we having to play catch up with the Chinese now?
I think if I were to pick up an example, yes, those examples have been used. If I were to pick up an example, I would pick up the example of Steve Jobs. Because when Steve Jobs announced the first Apple II, the paradigm was IBM mainframes. The paradigm was that it's only a business that can afford a computer. A family you can't have a computer in the home. It has to be only a business, and a sizable business. So Steve Jobs came with the idea, computer in every home. So he created Apple Computer, which anybody could afford. And that created the revolution where suddenly IBM was not the big guy, and where you did not need millions of dollars, and you could have the same computing power that your kids can learn. Now, DeepSeek has done the same. What they've done is, because with the $500 billion announcement, we thought that we had an advantage over everybody else because nobody had that kind of money to invest. What China has done, keep in mind, part of it is geopolitical. What they have done is they said, now anybody can create AI with a $5.5 million budget. Now, every country has already downloaded DeepSeek. It's open source. So from a geopolitical point of view, what China has done is diffused the ownership of AI within America. So the difference...
Oh, okay. So then sorry to cut you off, but what happened is that it was about to be like they took it and they made it open for everybody. So now they kind of took away the proprietary utilization of it, right?
Well, more than that, because so far we thought
we were in charge, if you will. We were leading the charge, and now they showed up 2 days after the announcement, right? We're talking 2 days ago.
Kudos, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Trump announces we're going to do $500 billion and we're going to take this over, they went, no, you're not. Check this out, right?
Absolutely. And the rest of the world in particular, because we thought that the Europeans cannot afford billions of dollars of investment in AI.
We talked about that. You actually said there's only two people that will be able to do it, and that would be China and the United States. Last week we had this conversation. You said Europe just can't afford it.
They can't afford it.
And now with DeepSeek, it came out for $5 million. That means now
$5.5 million.
Almost any country now could come up with their own particular type of AI infrastructure.
Absolutely. So where it's a paradigm shift is like what Steve Jobs did to IBM. DeepSeek has done to the AI big guys, so to speak, because everybody thought that American 4 or 5 companies are going to be the dominant players in AI, and nobody else can come close to them because nobody else can spend hundreds of billions of dollars. So what China has done is done the Steve Jobs thing on American AI. The difference is that this time around, the Steve Jobs is sitting in China, not in the United States.
Gotcha.
Right? So the innovation is sitting in China, not in the United States. That's why President Trump, I think he had the right comment about it. He said, well, it's a wake-up call for us. we have to basically, our people, technologists have to do a better job. In my mind, there is no question, because they are giving it open source. We'll have tons of startups in the US that will now create their own AI. How hard is it to raise $6 million? Anybody can raise $6 million.
And especially now in AI, because there's billions of dollars. Do you think that Trump, now he just came out and these three men who said they're going to put up the 500 billion.
It's not going to happen.
I was just going to say DeepSeek comes out now and says we can do it for 5 million and we have a good product. Now they just said, hey, we're going to give 500 billion. Are they now going to renegotiate the terms of their investment? Or
Well, they were not committing. They were basically committing that they will invest in American AI. So it's going to take different shapes.
okay.
So it's not now keep in mind, I think all in all, it is still the US will have the lead in AI, right? So the only thing that China has done is neutralized American dominance in AI, right? Because the Europeans, you look at their shows, they're already saying, no, we can do it. But before that, they could not have the money to do it. Now they can do it. Indians will do it. You take any country, every country now will have their own AI.
What's the benefit or the harm in that? So I'll say every country has AI. Isn't it all the kind of the same thing in a sense? I mean, so if you had a German AI and you had a Chinese AI and you had an American AI, other than the coding, what is the difference? And are there strategic disadvantages and advantages? And are there any threats based upon every company having AI?
Well, the first thing is the business implications. Of course, the first company that will get hurt by this is OpenAI, Sam Altman. The company that was supposed to be doing this and then made it profitable, right?
So you go back to it. It's like you look at there's Elon saying this should be free to the world. This is what we did. So Elon Musk said this. The Chinese happen to agree with Elon Musk. They made their DeepSeek open to everybody, and then ultimately, you could say almost Elon's reservations about Sam Altman were correct. Right?
That's what I was trying to say. That was correct. And so President Trump mentioned that Elon doesn't like one of the
He actually said in a statement that he just said he was actually signing some things, and they asked about that, and he just said simply Elon just didn't like one of the members of the deal.
That was
and
the
he just
reason.
didn't care for one of the players in the deal. So I appreciated that answer.
Yeah.
It was very cut and dry. It was the
Very
truth
cut and
rather
dry.
than giving a hard thing. Elon didn't like one of the guys.
And I like President Trump's comment about DeepSeek. The same day, same evening, he gave a comment. Well, it's a wake-up call for us. I think it's a good idea. Now, what are the benefits to us of that, to the U.S.? The benefits to us are the same thing why OpenAI was set up to start with, including Elon Musk. The benefits are that if we let 2 or 3 or 4 giants control the technology, it will snub innovation, right? So the question still is that Elon questions that were the Chinese really able to do it with $5.5 million, or would it still require more? But there is no question that Wall Street people have looked into it. Microsoft has downloaded it. Their engineers have already looked into it. The Microsoft CEO has nice things to say about DeepSeek technology.
Is this something that we all could download?
You can download it.
Why would I download it though? Let me ask you.
Let's say you were a technical startup.
Okay.
You could download.
Okay.
Create your own.
It's not really for the consumer. It's not for someone like Dr. Petrick. It's more
for developers.
Developers. So.
Right.
Because, there's things that are happening now with AI in medicine and other practical applications of it. Would DeepSeek, would that be the platform?
Now, that's a good question. So since we have been talking about medical AI applications, so 2 days ago, I got to DeepSeek right away, to check it out. So I had Google on one side, DeepSeek on the other side, to
Looking under the hood.
asking question, artificial intelligence question. So it's an interesting story. I asked DeepSeek because in my view, the top medical AI is MedLM from Google. So I asked DeepSeek, I said, does DeepSeek have a medical AI like MedLM? And it gave an incorrect answer. It said, yes, we have MedLM. DeepSeek said that, gave me all the details about it. So I asked the second question right after that. I said, does MedLM belong to DeepSeek or does it belong to Google? Right away, it said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's like talking to a human being. So DeepSeek says, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It said, I'm sorry.
Here's the thing, but the thing is, and why this is exactly like talking to a human, because it lied to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It lied to you until you caught it. And then when you caught it lying, it gave you a corrected answer. So, wow, is that crazy?
Yes,
It's a lying computer.
Lying computer. So that is artificial intelligence, right? It's the same.
There's fraud everywhere, man. That's crazy.
And then I asked DeepSeek a question about China. And then it gave some roundabout answer that it's not programmed to do it. So
you have to ask it like, DeepSeek, give me your thoughts on President Trump and tariffs, and then ask
So I think what Chinese strategy is as follows. They know that the U.S. one way or another is going to cut them off, right? DeepSeek. So I tried to go on before coming over. I said, well, let me get on DeepSeek, ask a couple of more questions. They're down. Today they're down. We can't get on. So is
that a strategic thing, or they're just down?
No.
Is it because so many people downloaded it?
I think there's more than that, because they gave a reason why they're down. They said that there is a lot of malicious activity to bring us down. DeepSeek said that there's a lot of malicious activity to do the denial of service. So either through private sources or through our government sources, we are doing a denial of service attack on DeepSeek. I think the Chinese would have expected that, right?
When you give it away for free, how are they going to make money on it? So they spend
they don't plan making money on it.
So what's the whole point? So they get let's say $6 million, they make DeepSeek, they put it out there, they give it away to everybody. What's their motivation behind that?
Their motivation is
to hurt the United States.
No. Their motivation is to compete against the United States on technology. They want the developing world to go their route. They want Europeans, if they can peel them away, to go the Chinese route. So they want to give away technology so that U.S. doesn't control this technology.
Do you think how they were embedding the chips with the TikTok fiasco that's going on? Does it stay? Does it go? I mean, I was watching the Tulsi Gabbard thing today, and they were bringing up the TikTok thing. And so my point is, do you think that there's some hesitation, in whether it be Europe or the United States, to do any involvement with DeepSeek because of the corruption that went into them being able to, check on our people of our country, or they're kind of they infiltrate our country and learning all our data, learning everything about us? Is there hesitation?
Well, that's the whole idea.
I mean, with Europe, you think Europe's going to say, hey, no, wait a second. Look what you did to the United States and our phones and all this garbage. We're out.
Well, keep in mind that behind it is exactly what you're saying, geopolitical reasons.
Okay.
Because they don't allow our social media in China.
Not at all.
Because they know that our social media companies will share the data with the U.S. government. Now, the rest of the world allows us. So that means we have the data on the rest of the world, right? Now, the Chinese want the same ability to gather data on as much of the world as they can.
Okay.
So our social media companies don't have data on the Chinese. Well, DeepSeek may not have data on Americans, but whatever part of the world they get 50%, 60%, they'll have that much data on the rest of the world. So that is their competitive edge. So the other thing they've done is with the billions of dollars investment, Wall Street is questioning that, is that they have produced a comparable AI with chips that are a lot less expensive.
Chips made here in the United States?
Which they already had them before the ban went into effect. Now, that's a separate question. How many they had, they're not disclosing that. But
You're talking about the ban on Chinese chips in our technology.
American chips going to China, right?
Okay.
So
But the ban is on American chips going to China,
right.
but not the ban on Chinese chips coming to the United States?
Well, we don't want them. Actually, their main technology company, Huawei, that creates chips and other electronic equipment, they had contracts with Europe, and from several years ago, we forced the Europeans to give up Huawei. So the deeper point here is twofold. Number one, the cost of entry into AI. Number two, the next step, you'll see it coming, is the Chinese will announce another AI that does not need American chips. It's based on Huawei chips. Well, the Huawei chips, any country can buy them, especially if they are cents on the dollar, right?
Mm-hmm. So what they're doing is they're going to flood the market with cheap chips.
They're going to flood the market with cheap chips. They are going to give algorithms. For example, even the DeepSeek algorithm. There are companies in the US over the last 2 days, they're downloading the algorithm. They'll take out the Chinese component of it, right? They'll take out the Chinese component of it because they can download it, and that will be fine by America. In other words, let's say we started a startup, and we said we want to create a new artificial intelligence. We can download DeepSeek as a technology company. The parts that we are worried about, where the information will go to China, we can take that out, right? So nothing goes to China. I think that will be acceptable to the US government because that part of it has been excised. And so how does China gain from that? The way China gains from that is if that technology gets used by American startups, it's still their technology.
So they kind of get paid on they get their rate on the back.
No, they don't get paid zero. There's no cost. Keep in mind, there's no cost. That was the idea of OpenAI.
Okay.
No cost.
Okay.
There is zero cost. There is zero cost to that. So any American startup now can download DeepSeek. A lot of them have already done so. Before any ban goes into effect, universities have downloaded. Microsoft has downloaded. Everybody and their cousin has downloaded. From 2 days ago, when market fell, lost over $1 trillion, right? Yeah, and the Wall Street people have analysts there. They have downloaded it. They are looking at their algorithm. It is true. Is it? Number one, the technology is true. Everybody who has looked at it, the Chinese have done a great job. So you have to give credit where it's due. They've created new algorithms which far outperform anything we had done. So you have to give credit where it's due. Since the algorithms are that much more efficient, they can give the performance on cheaper chips.
Okay.
So that's the equation.
How do we catch up? I mean, if we're behind,
we'll catch up. How
would you catch up? What is it?
Well, you'll see within a year. So the people that are going to get hurt from this are the big guys in AI. They're going to get hurt because they thought that they had the AI market locked up.
Due to price. They were pricing everybody out of the market. Even countries, like we talked about, even continents of Europe, we were saying, hey, Europe can't even do this AI. It's such a huge cost.
Right.
And now we just found out 2 days ago that everybody can do it. And
right.
Wow, man.
And that was OpenAI's original mission, to do AI for humanity. That was what Elon's beef was with Sam Altman and with Microsoft by extension, because they wanted to then control the technology. And by all accounts, by all measures, DeepSeek beats ChatGPT. I did, 2 days ago when I could access it, I tried different things immediately. And not only that, it gives the reasoning how it created, it's real. So I told him, I created some complex programming examples. I said, DeepSeek, tell me if I had wanted to check its technology.
Testing it.
I tested it. It gave me answers where a programmer would take maybe a week to do. It gave the answers within a few seconds. And this is the program. This is how you would do it. This is how you would do it. This is how you would do it. So it has, and it gives the step-by-step analysis, reasoning, why it is telling you to do like this. It's not only like having an expert give you an answer, but explain their answer. So that our American AIs don't do that because they want the customers to subscribe to them for the service. So that is an added advantage DeepSeek has done, is not only it gives you the answer, it gives you the reasoning behind the answer so that you can, a student can learn technology just from getting their answers, why the answer. It's like a teacher as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the U.S. can stop them, but do we have the jurisdiction on other countries? In my view, I think President Trump is right, that we have to up our game. I think nobody competes against the U.S. on free market forces, on innovation. Anytime the big guys try to control the market, from IBM days onwards, you name it, it is the American free enterprise that lets the innovators come in, and David always beats the Goliath, right? I think this is the same moment. So I think what's going to happen is the AI innovation in America, more than anywhere else, it's going to take off because we already have the base.
Are we the David or are we the Goliath?
Well, the Goliaths are the big companies.
Oh, the big AI companies. Those are the Goliaths. And the Davids now is the
Davids
DeepSeek.
are 10,000 new startups that are going to happen.
Okay.
Those are the, and some of them are going to succeed. Keep in mind, Google was in the same position not too long ago. Facebook was in the same position not too long ago. So that is the American experience, that nobody can compete against that. But Europeans will do it their way. They'll have their government sponsor it because their private sector is not as thriving. Rest of the world is similar to Europe, where the governments will initiate some things. But the technology space on AI innovation, in my view, will still be dominated by the U.S. and China going forward. That's where innovation is going to come.
Which was our original thought, that China and the United States are the only ones that really do this, regardless of cost. Yeah, gotcha.
So what China has accomplished, in my view, is remove the U.S. dominance from AI. So what it will do, in my view, what it is going to do is, like, remember a few years ago, we had genetics issue because we figured out human genome, all the different things we can do in biology. What if a rogue country does this, that with human genome? And there are a lot of things that can happen. The world came together, and through collaboration, those things have not happened. So I think what China has forced the U.S. to do is that now AI will take the same route, but everybody will have AI and in a reasonable period of time and tailored to their needs. And then bad things can still happen through AI, but there would be a need then, instead of the U.S. dictating to the rest of the world, and our politicians making the decisions for the rest of the world, which, a few people can't have a crystal ball as to what's good for the world. It will force us to collaborate, like on the human genome, that we work with the rest of the world, and things that are harmful within AI which can be harmful, that we come into agreements that the countries agree, that we don't let
like the nuclear, like we're no longer producing nuclear weapons, like a Cold War in a sense, a kind of a Cold War on AI, like we're going to try to control it. You mentioned bio, right? And science. And so if anybody understands that there's all kinds of practical applications now, and applications where AI will be able to come into medicine and do amazing things in
It can do amazing things.
like titration. If you don't know what that is that, for instance, Javed and I don't weigh the same. We're not made up of the same thing. But when our doctors now make a prescription, they prescribe it 500 milligrams for him, 500 milligrams for me, but where we're totally two different makeups. And where AI could come in and it could actually titrate down to the particular type of ethnicity, our male or female, his weight, my weight, on all of our lab work, and it can do that in a matter of seconds. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that is correct. Now, let me add on to that. Now, just imagine that with AI, and I think it's a good thing for mankind if that's the positive of it. If more countries on the planet are doing it, and that's where Elon's difference was with the OpenAI, OpenAI was set up for the good of mankind. That was the vision. Then not for through some legal shenanigans to turn it into for profit and for some people to make money. If you go back to that original promise, that medical application is a big application for that. And big in the sense that just imagine that AI, and that's where Google shines, because even when I asked DeepSeek, it quickly backtracked that MedLM they don't have it. So Google is the only one that has that level of medical LM. Other people are trying, but they are a subset of MedLM. And keep in mind, AI emerged from Google Labs.
So what is MedLM?
MedLM is Google's medical AI.
Medical AI. And it's called MedLM.
Large LM. MED for medical and LM for language models. Now keep in mind, in technical people, instead of saying AI, they use language model or large language model.
So in your group, you don't say AI, you say LM. What was the LLM?
LLM is large language model.
Large language models, okay.
And LM is language model, or just model. Now they just use model. Those 2 or 3 words are too long to say. And acronyms form in every industry. So just imagine that, and Chinese don't have, for example, equivalent of MedLM, right? Otherwise it would have spit it out. Now, let's say that, number one, keep in mind that just like we human beings through the 5 senses, we learn from data. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
We collect data in the brain and
test the
process
stove. It's hot. Data in collected as a child. I now know
it
that
goes
data
into the
set
memory. Then we process it, make a decision. So data is key. Artificial intelligence is meaningless without data, right? I go camp in a forest. I don't care if AI exists or not, right? It's irrelevant. So it's relevant for model life with data. But now just imagine if the world collaborates. Right now, we don't have data on the Chinese from a medical point of view. Just take the medical application. And the Chinese don't have data from us, right? And the rest of the world doesn't have any data. Africa doesn't have any data. Nobody's collecting it, right? Asia, South America, nobody has data on medicine, right? So let's say that even with US initiated, some startup or some company or one of the big giants, no harm in that, they have tons of money, give that, collect data, provide basic medical services to Africa, to South America, Asia, developing countries. And that data will make the medical AI that much more comprehensive.
Just in a whole world view as opposed to what we've collected in our own United States or what China's collected on their people, looking at from a whole world will actually improve AI.
It will big time.
MedLM, right? It will improve that.
Let me give you a scientific point on that. We all know that our gene pool goes back to Africa, right? Mm-hmm. And if we take all human beings outside of Africa, right? Then they go to a particular area in Africa. But if we take the Africans, although they look similar, they have a more diverse gene pool than the rest of the world, right? We don't know that, right? So, but there's no data on it. So,
Interesting.
how many cures are hidden in that genetic analysis?
Because we can't get the data to determine
what cures are there.
what the cures are. Yeah. So there's a lot of suppressed data based upon the lack of collaboration on a global scale.
On a global scale. And
Gotcha.
the challenges are global. The diseases that even come to the U.S., a lot of them don't originate from here. They come from the rest of the world.
And some of the things that AI could do would be diagnostics. AI can be really good at being able to help diagnose early and quick, maybe.
Now, let me mention two foundational things that can be used in medicine.
Okay.
And rest of it comes from there. The two foundational things are, number one, all the knowledge, medical knowledge. MedLM can already beat medical graduates on USMLE.
Mm-hmm.
So AI has more knowledge than a
graduating Harvard medical doctor.
Or any doctor.
Any doctor.
Any doctor. So it already has that. You can ask it questions, and it will give you answers that are more accurate than any medical graduate. So that's one thing. The second thing is it has a data set, as we are discussing, not as much as it has, right? Because medical data has privacy related regulations. Every country collects the data differently. So there are challenges in there on how to aggregate the data. But as much data as it has, one doctor cannot know all of that. AI can process that instantly.
It's a level playing field in a sense, is it not? For instance, if you look at it as, let's say you're someone in rural Midwest United States, and something happens medically, whether it be an injury or something, you have that capability to have that right there. So it almost levels the playing field for all physicians are now, relatively speaking, the same. The information coming out of the AI is the same, regardless whether you went to Harvard or Arizona State or UNLV. It doesn't really matter.
Number one, that doesn't matter. Number two, and I'll come back to this point, but let me make one more important point that AI brings. When a doctor looks at an X-ray or a scan of any kind, right? It is impossible for a human eye to look at the microscopic patterns. AI can look at microscopic patterns.
Got you.
Right? And we know even today that those microscopic patterns can predict future illnesses. Right?
Whether it be looking at the DNA and the helix, or whether it be looking at just X-rays and whatever.
Or you do, it will spot the scans of the body. It can look at neurological systems. It can look at initial formation of cancers. It can detect all of that before it becomes a problem. So people can take corrective action sooner than later.
Which goes back to the data from around the world. If you look around the world, all this data, now you have more patterns, better averages, more specific and accurate data for better treatments and things like that.
But this particular technology, where it can scan images at a microscopic level and look at the patterns at a microscopic level, right? What that does is you don't need too much data. You can be working just with your own patients, because every patient, that things that you cannot see as a doctor, AI can see it and inform you that this, and it can expand it for you, and this is the concern area, please look into it more right away. So that's one thing. The second thing it can do, there are many things it can do. The second thing it can do is that it can push the focus towards disease avoidance rather than disease management.
So preventative care versus our standard sick care that we have now.
Standard sick care we have now.
Total paradigm shift. You're seeing that now with nutraceuticals, as opposed to everything was big pharma, Rockefeller, big pharma came out.
Right.
Now we've seen it switch over the last 10 years to where there's, and unfortunately, there's not the right amount of regulation in the nutraceutical market. But there's some good companies out there like Abexius, which is pharmaceutical grade with GMP standards and FDA standards for these nutraceuticals. But the nutraceutical market now will come out of the AI too, correct?
It will come out AI. It will help set standards. It will help set compliance on that. Mm-hmm. And on that point, let me make one point. We have a pharmaceutical industry that gets a drug approved with a sample of about 5,000 people, right?
Small comparison to what they're prescribing it to millions, and they're using a sample size of only about 5,000.
And then once they have the FDA approval, there is no oversight on it. That company has spent...
There's no follow-up, there's no oversight. It's not. So whatever happens.
Happens, right? Because they already have the approval. In my view, with AI, that system will necessarily change. Because that's not good enough in the AI world. In the AI world, we have the ability to collect not just data on 5,000, right? Even if it goes through the same approval process, well, how many patients, let's say 1 million patients are using that prescription, we can have ongoing data, and we can say after 6 months, that is not working. What worked for 5,000 people is not working for 1 million people. Either make this adjustment or that adjustment. So we don't wake up after all the damage has been done by pharmaceuticals. So that's number one, because keep in mind, we live in a world where a lot of addiction has happened from previously approved FDA regulated drugs.
Millions of people died. The opioid crisis that's gone on. And you just touched on it just to refine that. It is something to be utilized. You can almost have a propensity to determine who has the likelihood of being addicted.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So if you have someone who may be having a characteristic that they don't necessarily see or the doctor doesn't see,
right?
But yet the
red flags come up.
Yeah, the red flags will be picked up by the AI, and the AI would say this person should not be on this medication. They should be on a non-opioid or non-narcotic. They need to be on this based upon their propensity to maybe be addicted. Another AI implication.
Another AI application. Same thing for example, PTSD. Our veterans, half the homeless people are our veterans, right? So this would have direct applications for them to monitor and provide care and cures for them. Now, let me jump a little bit so that I think we covered.
We handled that.
Now, let me make one more point. The other point is in new therapies. Now, if you look at new therapies, right, which AI can enable, which otherwise would be very difficult to do. If you look at a human being, you, me, everybody else, and from that case, any biological creature, right? So we basically have three things, right? The human, three things. We have minerals, we have hormones, and we have the electricity that, at a very, very low voltage that runs the neural network in the brain.
Which is controlled, ironically, by the gut. The neural network is controlled by the gut. So,
right. And it does lead to also the philosophical discussion that even Elon Musk has struggled with is consciousness in the brain, or where is it? Now, my view is that consciousness is in every cell of the human being.
Which we've talked about. Life exists in every cell, not just, it may be controlled by the brain, but life itself is in every single cell. Because cells die.
Cells die. And
right? And they reproduce or they die. So you're looking at it as that. So life And when you start to even get into the deeper quantum physics level of it,
Right.
how we're all particles,
Right.
and I'm not even going to go down that
No,
conversation with you today.
No.
We'll be here all night, buddy.
I know we'll be here all night. But the point I'm trying to make is the following, right? We know from physics, right? Everything is physics, right? Everything else is sub-branches of physics. From physics, we know that there was a singularity, right? All the mass in all the universe at one point was smaller than the head of a needle, right? So it's how that dense it was. So the philosophical point is that creation at that point, about 14, 15 billion years ago, from our current understanding, when it happened, it had all the atoms in it that make you, that make him, that make me, that make all the universe.
That's how expansive it was, correct?
No. But the point I'm trying to make is, let's say we currently use, if there's a homicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look at, is there a hair, somebody's hair over here, right? We can take a hair, and it's legally admissible that we can take the DNA of a hair and tie it to a human being.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making is at a microscopic level, if you, me, and everybody else, including the universe, was a singularity, why can't we take any subatomic particle and tie it to the criminal that created the singularity? If you can create from a hair, prove that it's a human being that, made this crime, then it lends itself to the fact that a subset can prove the superset, that any particle in existence can go back to singularity. It has the imprint of singularity, and then there is something beyond that. And that plays in our health, because we know that every cell now, we know that it vibrates with a certain frequency. And so that's where some of the electrical impulses, AI will help refine on how they can be harmonized within the body.
Yeah, because they say that there's 180,000 different frequencies in the body that each, whether it be a ligament or a heart tissue, and each of these particular cells vibrate at a particular frequency. So I was reading a study, a very interesting study. I believe it was out of Sweden or Germany. I can't remember now. I'm sorry for that, but I just was looking at it, and it was talking about, they were comparing a tuning fork, and they were utilizing that if you have a tuning fork and you bang it, the tuning fork next to it, and so down the line, they all start to vibrate. And it's that vibratory frequency wave that's making those forks down here vibrate, even though the one up here was the one that was hit.
Right.
And they said that the actual membrane of the cell, of the actual cell, could actually be broken up by a certain particular targeted frequency.
Right.
So if you had a frequency, let's say, of a cancer cell, and that's what they were doing, they were utilizing that in cancer studies, saying that if a particular cancer cell gets hit by, let's just say, 1,000 hertz or whatever it was, frequency, it would kill that cell and it would die. So I was, I mean, what we can do with, again, technology, and something is cancer, and unfortunately cancer hits almost 1 in 3 people now are affected directly by some sort of cancer in the United States.
Exactly. So the point I was trying to make was, how does AI fit into that? Where AI fits into that is, as I said earlier, one is microscopic image analysis, because we need a feedback mechanism, because otherwise it will become a placebo effect if we can't prove it, right? But if we can do those methodologies, we have the ability to measure them, monitor them, and we can say, okay, well, we can do hit and trial. Well, we are doing this, it's having this effect. But then we need that microscopic image analysis, rather than having people go through months of therapy or years of therapy to see if it has made a difference or not. where we can see the difference at a microscopic level almost immediate, and we know it's going to keep working. So those are the promises of AI. And of course, the other thing is where we can implant chips themselves. In my view, the chip side of it, implanting in the brain and trying to figure out neural electrical activities at the neural level, that might have some minimal value. I think where the maximal value would be using AI to understand at a very deep level the neural processes that are going on in the human body, and where you were going, understand how we can excite the cells themselves in their natural form.
Okay.
To
Or a particular function or...
But what AI can do is it can then provide the proof that can then be offered openly to other people to experiment and work with.
You know, I want to touch on a topic in AI that I think is important because I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I make let everybody know that I'm loud for Jesus. But the reason why I bring this up is when I get around a lot of my Christian brothers in my fellowship, they always look at AI and they're afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they always say like, oh, AI is evil and bad. And I'm surprised because I'm looking at it now as one of the first pieces of technology where the view of the human is that's bad. And I always politely tell them that, look, as a Christian, I want a seat at the table of AI. I think we need to create that conscious effort. And if I can have a seat at the table, I think that's more important to bring a soulful or a faith-based model to this. But if someone was out there and for someone like me that's trying to preach about AI or talk to them about AI, and they feel that there's a violation or they're fearful of it, what would you say to somebody that says, this is a bad thing, or this is not godly, or this isn't from God, this is from the devil? Or would you say this is terrible science? What do you say to that?
I think it's like any other science. I think there are always going to be good people and bad people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bad people will use the science for bad purposes. Good people will use the science for good purposes. I think fundamentally, given a chance, most people are on the good side of the equation. Having said that, our history is full of human beings being cruel to others.
Yes, because it's not an if, it really is a when. I mean, that's one of the reasons when they talk about the Constitution and they say, you know, the Constitution is no longer needed, or this is no longer needed. And the truth is that the corruption of man has been around forever. It's the one thing. It's right. It's not going to go away. So how do we prepare for these bad apples in the AI space?
So there are a couple of comments I would make over there. Number one, we are not perfect in the U.S., but so far we have been a good custodian of technology, right? We were the only ones who had a nuclear bomb for a number of years. We did not subjugate the rest of the world. Other people might have been going in that direction. Americans are good people by their nature, unless they are threatened, right? So given that, there are a couple of things. Number one is philosophical at a spiritual, religious level. In my view, AI proves what we discussed earlier. If we can show by the use of AI that there is a divine imprint at a cellular level going back to singularity, that shows that there is another dimension to existence.
Wow, that's a little paradigm complete, like a mind blown there, that you just said that AI will at some point be able to prove the existence of a higher power or creator.
Well, we know, we can show it. Through AI, we can show it if it is at a cellular level, and at an ordinary level, it has it can help with the good versus evil in the following sense. Emotions, right, come from a different dimension, right? Love comes from a different dimension. Hatred is opposite of love, comes from a different dimension. So that's why we commonly say, we don't hate the person, we hate
The sin.
the sin of the
You
evil.
don't hate the sinner, hate the sin.
Right. So that comes from that because so if we can show that the two dimensions coexist, and we can show it in a lab, we can show it at a subcellular level, right? So number one, it takes that philosophical question off the table, that somehow there is no other dimension to existence, right? So once we recognize that we are limited human beings, and there is another dimension that's all encompassing, that makes us humble as human beings. Humility is a good spiritual quality to know our place in the universe. A lot of evil comes from the fact that we attribute, or some leaders attribute, more to them and are ready to be cruel to others or for greed or this or that or that. So that is the point we were discussing earlier, that just like we did with genetic research, just like we did with nuclear technology, in my view, the proliferation of AI, the danger is as follows. The challenge is, in my view, that we have to look at, especially for the US. We used to be a manufacturing country, right? You have relatives in the Midwest, and on my wife's side, I do too. So I know manufacturing laws has created a lot of challenges. Our economy became service-oriented economy. Like the example I gave, I come from a computer field, and AI agents can do the same programs I can do, right? So those jobs will get eliminated. So we have to think through that the productivity will increase. And in some ways, it's a competitive advantage for the US, because if we can have AI agents do the job, suddenly then China is not 4 times bigger than us, right?
No, right. So what you just said is you level the playing field again due to population, because China is 4 times the size of our
Right, but if you don't
population.
need the people to produce things,
absolutely,
then
absolutely.
competitive advantage goes away, right?
Right.
So in some ways, AI agents can create a level playing field. The opposite challenge would be that with the AI paradigm, we have to do a better job for our citizens than what we did when manufacturing went to it. I think a lot of people suffered and are still suffering. So we need to put our heads together as to the displacement AI will make. How do we take care of it?
Because what you're referring to ultimately is jobs that were once human jobs or services are now to go to AI. Like, for instance, you're seeing it all the time. I mean, one of the most important things I think that you're seeing now, which is a true revolution in how we do things, is the car. Right. If you were to look at the automobile and the autonomous vehicles now, if you look at jobs, we'll talk taxi drivers and Uber drivers, that'll soon be a thing of the past. You'll get in, it'll know where you're going. It'll be a computer that turns around and says, hey, do you want me to stop at McDonald's? It'll be totally automated as opposed to taxis and Ubers. That'll be gone. Air traffic. They were talking about how
we had an accident today.
Absolutely. And could that accident, I certainly want to give give condolences to all those families that lost someone. I'm not using this as an opportunity to speak about that, but could that have been, it was human error. That's right. So AI, this is an excellent example how AI could have saved 70 people in Washington, D.C. and from the Potomac. Right.
Now, of course, the challenging part of it is that the future wars will also be conducted with AI. And so if all the world has AI, let's say today, if Ukraine had the AI ability, right, to use AI and not put people on the front lines and have AI agents conduct operations against Russia, or Russia had that ability, vice versa. So those are the challenges that will become paramount. And so that also explains to you why Chinese are giving this technology away. They don't want the US to have dominance in AI warfare.
But are you talking like Terminator type things? When you say the agents, like an AI agent, so you're basically looking at which one has the best Terminator.
Well,
so let's say now it goes down to the...
Yeah, let me explain. We already have drones.
Right.
Now, drones currently, the current version of drones, which are heavily used by both Russia and Ukraine, and keep in mind the Russian drones are even coming from Iran. So it's not a technology that, almost anybody can produce that technology today. But somebody has to program it. That drone still has to communicate with the satellites and everything. And then you have to put the target, and there's no human being in there, if they can do it. Now, the danger with AI is that the generals that are conducting the war, right, making decisions for war, making strategy for war, that they'll become lazy and hand it over to AI agents. Because like we said, the accident would not have happened if the AI agent was running that helicopter, right? So why not expand it to warfare, right? So if you expand it to warfare, there's no question, like you do with the video games, it can figure out all the options better than a human being in real time and react in real time. And all what you need to do is give it enough lethal power that is also AI controlled. And now suddenly we live in a world, the whole world will become like a video game, right? Because they are at the mercy. So those dangers are absolutely real. And that is where we do need the global community to come together and have, put some understandings in place that it cannot happen. Now, that also explains this move on DeepSeek, because let's say that the US was the only one who had that ability, right? Nobody else had it. And so that is where China has proven over the last 2 days to the American stock market and to the rest of the world. And they said, instead of us being on the mercy of the US, we are just going to give this technology to everybody.
Right. Which you mentioned it is that particular move by the Chinese, which I hate to say it, maybe brilliant in its sense.
Or it opens it up.
Right. It opened it up, but it did. It cost American stock market and American...
Over $1 trillion.
$1 trillion was lost in the last 2 days. Probably in our country's history, the single greatest loss of revenue in a day. And that was with the announcement of DeepSeek.
Well, not the announcement, but it became the
reality of it now.
Most loaded app in one day.
Well, I love this conversation, and I love where it's going, and I'd love to bring you back on the show to discuss it deeper, really get more of a granular piece to this. But I'd like to, if I could, let's recap for everybody out there. So first and foremost, we know that, and I think the most exciting part of this, to kind of recap for the audience, is that one, there's an opportunity and more a likelihood that AI will prove the existence of God for those who need it. As a Christian, I know that there's a God. I don't need that proof, but it's like AI can do that. Two, we've learned that DeepSeek was an excellent play by the Chinese to show the Americans, you're not the number one game and not the only game in town. And we're here, we're going to play. And we've been first to market, if you will. Third, we learned that AI will have incredible implications in medicine and other type of occupations and other types of service industries, whether it be, again, autonomous vehicles or planes, or even the implications of AI could have in medicine, which is incredible stuff there. So the other things that we learned also was that this is a new science. It's been around for some time, and it seems like it's evolving as fast as anything else it ever has in the world of computers.
Multipliers. It will go from, especially after DeepSeek, it will have an exponential curve.
So I would love to do another show with you, especially because this DeepSeek is going to start to unravel, as so is the AI in the United States. And I would love to hear about some of the AI projects that you're possibly working on with AI and the med beds, hyperbaric chambers, some other new types of technologies that are out there, frequencies, vibration, things like that, how AI will have an implication. And I'd love to hear your opinion on how that's going to play a role in medicine. As a physician, as a doctor, one of the most important things to me is the health of humanity. That's really what we're trying to do. So I'd love to have your opinions. And thank you so much for being on the show. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Avexius. I want to thank Everready Health. I want to thank all the wonderful people out there. I also want to thank our president for really, President Donald Trump, for really bringing this to light. If he didn't come out a week ago and talk about AI, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation that I believe is need to be had, because frankly, people are afraid of it and they shouldn't be. Maybe they should, we'll know, but we'll bring Javed back again. Thank you so much for your time and being on the show. And stay tuned for more Ask Dr. Jon Show. Love to have you. Remember, from around the world and coast to coast, from the things that matter most to you, the Ask Dr. Jon Show. Thank you.